Hal Tabi, can you hear? Okay.
We started.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Alaikum
Inshallah,
salam.
we are continuing our panel discussion on evil problem. This is going to be our last session, inshallah. It's been 4 weeks, and we talked about different aspects of evil from Risale collection from Quran. This week, we have Colin Turner from England and Baykar Yurdakul from Connecticut, USA. This week, inshallah, we will talk about Adam alayhi salam being expelled from Jannah, from heaven. And this is seen as, in Christian theology, like as original sin. And it's seen as evil by people, even for Muslims, why did Adam alayhi salam eat from that tree? And we ended up here in this world. But here we will talk about how it is a pure wisdom and mercy from Allah that he actually committed that sin. And our second topic for today, we will talk about difficulties, sufferings. Allah makes us ill, he makes us suffer, he makes us, thirsty and hungry, and he makes us go through many tribulations and sufferings. And what's the wisdom in it, especially for those who are innocent and for animals even. Inshallah. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم وقل رب أعوذ بك من همزات الشياطين وأعوذ بك رب أن يحضرون. I seek refuge with Allah from Satan the accursed, and say, O my sustainer, I seek refuge with you from the whisperings of the evil ones, and I seek refuge with you, my sustainer, lest they should come near me. These are two verses from the Quran, two ayat from the Quran, and we will read from the book Letters, 12th letter. We have two questions for today, and we will cover both of them, inshallah. The first question: what wisdom does it spring from Adam alayhi salam being expelled from heaven and some of mankind being sent to hell? What's the wisdom in Adam alayhi salam? Is being expelled from Jannah, from heaven, and many people end up in hell. And we ended up here after he was expelled. And answer, the wisdom of it concerns the charging of duties. Adam alayhi salam was sent, charged with such a duty that the unfolding of all mankind's spiritual progress and the revealing of all mankind's potentialities and man's essential nature, being a comprehensive mirror to all the divine names, are the result of it. If Adam alayhi salam had remained in heaven, his rank would have been fixed like that of the angels. Man's potentialities would not have unfolded. In any case, the angels, whose ranks are unchanging, are numerous, and there is no need for man to perform that sort of worship. Indeed, since divine wisdom required a realm of accountability appropriate to the potentialities of man, who would traverse infinite degrees, he was expelled from heaven for his well-known sin, sin being the requirement of man's nature and contrary to that of the angels. That is to say, just as Adam alayhi salam being expelled from paradise was pure wisdom and pure mercy, so is it just and right that the unbelievers should be sent to hell? As is mentioned in the third indication in the 10th word, the unbeliever who only committed one sin in a short life, but within the sin was infinite wrongdoing. For unbelief is an insult to the whole universe. It negates the value of all beings. It denies the testimony to divine unity of all creatures and is contempt towards the divine names, the manifestations of which are to be seen in the mirrors of beings. Therefore, in order to avenge the rights of beings on the believer, the being's monarch, the all-compelling one of glory, casts the unbelievers into hell, and this is pure right and justice. For an infinite crime demands infinite punishment. So now I will go back and read the question again. question. What wisdom does it spring from Adam alayhi salam being expelled from paradise, and some of mankind, the sons of Adam alayhi salam, being sent to hell? Yes, Colin Abi, are you? Can you start? Inshallah, I will ask you. The wisdom in Adam alayhi salam's being sent to this world, and this is seen as evil, right?
Okay, Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. The expulsion of Adam from the Garden of Paradise is one of the greatest, possibly most significant events in the history of creation, It's one of the greatest human mysteries that there are. And when you bear in mind what Adam's exit from the garden really denotes, it's a key marker in human history, and it's tempting to ask the question, did he fall or was he pushed? We can't escape this question of divine determining, of qadar. The fall of Adam happened, and as a result, humanity became truly human. So in a sense, even though it came about by a mistake on his part, it also had to happen. It was inevitable. There are so many things that we can say wouldn't have happened if Adam had not left paradise. As Ustad Nursi says, Adam's fall from paradise was a question of becoming fit for the responsibility of the trust, the amana. Ustad talks about charging with duties. This trust entailed that one particular species of creation would become deserving of the title Khalifatullah, vicegerent or representative of God on earth. Now, all created beings reflect God in different ways and to different degrees, but there needs to be one creation, one species, who takes on the job of representing God in the most comprehensive way possible. If we go into that a little bit, just to tease out the nuances, we know that all created beings reflect the divine names, but unity, divine unity, can only be appreciated through the existence of multiplicity, and therefore there needs to be countless degrees of representation. And so, since all degrees of manifestation need to be accounted for, there has to be one species of creation, inevitably, which more than any other reflects the Creator in a comprehensive manner. And that species of creation is human beings, humankind. It's the creature who reflects all of the names of God, including, most importantly, free will. Now, it was the fact that human beings were endowed with spirit and were made aware of all of the divine names. Remember, Allah says that he taught all of the names to Adam. That led to human being considered the most noble of creation, Ashraf al-Makhluqat. And it was humankind's ability to act as this most comprehensive reflection and manifestation of divine names that the angels were commanded to bow down to Adam and to do his bidding. So it would have been impossible for Adam to know who he truly was and what his humanity meant without coming to the world of multiplicity. So, I mean, that's quite a lot to unpack there. And I can say more about it later, but maybe we should get another view. But that's how I would start looking at this issue.
Yeah, actually, when I was reading this, when you first, started talking about Adam alayhi salam being expelled from paradise, it's, so much wisdom and mercy of Allah, our, being sent to this world with charging of duties. As you said, it had to happen, but as if he had to eat that. And like from one aspect, it's divine plan, as you said, right? Qadar. And like we have willpower, but Allah, I guess, like he holds universal willpower, and nothing happens except he wishes. Even I guess the sins, the sin committed by Adam alayhi salam, it could not happen if Allah would not wish it, right? So he let it happen for a universal purpose. Also, I want to ask one more question before asking by Karabi, in Christian theology, I guess, like in the first chapter in Bible, it's as if God is frustrated with, disappointed with Adam alayhi salam. Right? Why did you eat that? It's as if it's, he's frustrated. But actually, here we see that that happens for a purpose and for a, divine wisdom and for mercy.
Yeah, of course, there is a wisdom there, because Adam, and we have to bear in mind that Adam represents all of us. We all go through the same process, really. Without coming to this world, which is finite and limited, Adam would not have understood his creator in a way that was different to the angels. The angels know their creator through one or two names only. So to understand many of the divine names, their opposites have to be known and understood and internalized. The difference between the divine names can be understood only where there is multiplicity and also materiality, corporeality. So to know who Allah is, one has to know what Allah is not. And in order to understand what Allah is not, one has to be immersed in other than Allah, ma siwa Allah, everything that is other than Allah. Otherwise, you cannot understand unity. To understand unity, one has to first understand multiplicity. To understand absoluteness, we have to understand first limitation and finitude. And to understand immortality, one has to first understand mortality. That is, one has to experience death. And I often liken this human experience to the experience of a fish in water. The fish has absolutely no idea that it's in water until you take it out of the water. If you've seen people catching fish and then letting them back into the water, you'll know what I mean. As soon as the fish comes out of the water, it struggles and it struggles and it wriggles about to breathe. It must be for the fish a very distressing and alien experience. The fish knows that it lives in water only after it has been taken out of water. So the analogy is that we can't truly know what God is and what paradise is, what immortality is like, until we have come into this world and until we experience the finitude, the limitation, and the constriction of this temporary physical existence in the world of multiplicity, materiality, corporeality, temporality, all of these things. We cannot understand these basic brute facts and truths until we experience this world. So Adam's fall was precipitated by his own disobedience, but also by divine will. And this is why in Latin, they often refer to the fall as felix culpa, which means a happy mistake, or as we say in English, a blessing in disguise.
Thank you for us too, right? For our getting pleasure in Jannah as well. Also, there's a saying of Usad, I guess, if it wasn't for hell, we wouldn't get pleasure in paradise as well. And the same applies for this world as well. If we weren't sent to this world, we wouldn't get the pleasure of Jannah.
Precisely. I mean, it was an act of disobedience on Adam's part, and it led to many negatives. There are many, many negatives in having to undergo this human existence. It's painful. But overall, it's an absolutely positive act, and it's totally crucial and also totally necessary in the greater scheme of things. We have no option but to exist and to suffer finitude and mortality and limitation and death. But it's only a taste. We only taste these things. That's enough for us. If you taste it, the fish only has to be out of water for 1 second, just to taste. And then it goes back in the water and it says, this was where I was all along. And then it can really appreciate being in the water.
For the same things are known through their opposites, right? I mean, this is one aspect, mashallah. Now I want to ask by Karabi, and I'm sure he will talk about very different, quite different aspects. And I want to ask by Karabi, Adam alayhi salam being sent to this world and charging with duties, our spiritual progress, and revealing our potentialities, and us being a comprehensive mirror to all divine names. Inshallah.
Assalamu alaikum, a'udhu billahi minash shaitanir rajim, bismillahir rahmanir rahim, alhamdulillahi rabbil alamin, salatu wassalamu ala rasulina Muhammadin wa ala alihi wa sahbihi ajma'in. MashaAllah, I was following for the previous weeks, and all the attendees, speakers gave a lot of beautiful examples which concerns the practical part of the evil issue. It's really important to understand many aspects which is related to our own faith, our own approach to the life, and overall our psychological health, how we approach the whole existence. It was a very nice point that we started with the Colin brother mentioned about Adam alayhi salam's story in the Quran. He mentioned about it. It's really important to understand that first point, because even there the angels ask about the human being, and the first appealing action of the human being, that he can make mistakes, he can cause destruction, even bloodshed, etc., etc. And the interpretation at that point is here Imam Nursi mentions about the teaching of the Asma, names of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Also, in our discussion, we focused on that little bit, that that part is very important. So I want to talk about it a little bit more, inshallah. What does it mean that the potentialities of man will prevail? It's we are gonna have some progress. We are gonna understand that our humanity, or what does it really mean that this whole arena of trial is opened for our human progress. So what we understand also, from the story of the Adam alayhi salam, he actually tells them the names. So according to many tafsirs, this is the names of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So he will have some a better understanding among the whole creation of the names of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So this is very important to understand, because if we miss this point, the whole existence, the whole aim of the life, from our selfish points of view, becomes our own comfort. So I will live a comfortable life according to my own understanding. I will just try to taste all the pleasures of life, and then after a considerable period of time, I will disappear. But there are many problems with this. First of all, we see that human being is kind of put in the center of the life, in the whole setup of the creation, in the whole setup of the universe, because first of all, life is served by everything. If the sun, the moon, atmosphere, everything revolves and works, and the seasons come, and all these happenings in the world continues. But if there was no life, we wouldn't find any purpose behind it. Why all these things are not stopping? They are moving constantly. When life comes to existence, we see that Oh, okay, there's a purpose behind this. And then, of course, we think about a conscious life. We are looking an aim behind it. So the most conscious one, the human being, looks like he's in the center. He is the focal point. But when you tell people that the whole creation is serving to a human being, it's created by human, this sounds exaggerated. You know, oh, this is too excessive look to point of view for looking to the universe, because it's just, you know, we are one of the other animals that just little bit more progressed. But we need to ask them, you know, what do you mean progressed, and what is then the aim behind the creation? What are we really looking for? So again, if we don't understand the whole creation is about understanding the creator, you know, revealing the attributes and names of the creator, the art is about, you know, understanding the artist, then we miss the whole point. It is now doesn't make sense. Even, you know, the human being has the capacity to understand, has the to understand and give meaning to the whole being's existence, to admire the beauty, to have enthusiasm to learn and explore, and attached and interested in everything, concerned about all the, you know, happenings and problems around him. It's just, you know, we are just one of the other animals, and we are just looking for our own instant pleasures, and we will just pass away after a while. So the first one is the problem of the aim of the existence, creation of existence of human being, who we are, why are we here, what does it mean to progress? Is it just a technological progress, or to know more and more about the details of the existence of creatures or beings around us? So what's the real purpose of the human being? And the second point that comes to my mind is the continuity problem. So why we want to stay here forever? That comes to mind because it just gives us it just we just, you know, make our own decision and say that, oh, okay, he lived a 90-year life, 100-year life, this was a good span of life, he had a good life. But if somebody passed away for 20 after 20 years, said, oh, he was very young. But is that correct? Is that a good judgment? Is 100 years is really enough for a man to, you know, stay here and go? Was he just here for that existence? Was all the things he learned and, you know, all the experience he had was for this period of time? That's very that's the second part of the question that we need to, I guess, ponder upon. I was at the hospital, just let me share this shortly. I was at the hospital praying with a 100-year-old man next to his wife who just passed away, and she was about 98, I guess. And I want to, you know, a whisper from inside me said, you know, isn't it enough? Don't cry, you know, let her go. This is, maybe you were together more than 80 years. And he turned around, he looked into my eyes as if he heard me saying that. He said, it is like yesterday. So my conclusion is, even though I stayed in this world not 100 years, 1,000 years, it's not really enough for me. And this sounds like a good amount of time, but some creatures come to this world for one day, for a week, for a month, and they disappear. So much is spent for them, and how we conclude that, oh, they had a good life, or they had a short life? So according to what we decide that? So the conclusion is, again, the basics, the real aim of the creation is manifesting God's names. It's not our instant pleasure. It's not about our own comfort. It's not about living a comfortable life. But all these happenings, all the experiences we went through is really helping us to understand our Creator better and better. And this is our real aim of creation, our real aim of existence. If you don't understand this, our judgments are very poor and not enough to comprehend the bigger picture, what's going around us. Thank you.
Thank you, Baykar abi. I liked, when you said when a person dies, when he's 100 years old, we say, he had a good life, there was time for him to go. But if it was us, right, we would say, no, it's not enough. I want to live more for ourselves. And as you said, also, I remember one story, and I see, scientists like inventors, such genius people who have so much knowledge. And when they die, people and their students, they say, he should have lived more and contribute more because he had a lot of knowledge and potentiality, right? This is actually, if we observe, if we examine each of ours being, right, we have so much knowledge, potentiality in ourselves that we would understand that we were not created only to live for 100 years. We were created to live eternally, right? It's in our nature as well. MashaAllah. And also different aspects of it. When Adam alayhi salam was expelled from Jannah, from heaven, and we were sent to this world, and we ended up, most people, becoming unbelievers and ending up in hell. And I will read this part and ask you to comment on this, inshallah. Just as Adam alayhi salam's being expelled from paradise was pure wisdom and mercy, and that's what we talked. So is it just and right that the unbelievers should be sent to hell? As is mentioned in the third indication in the 10th word, the unbeliever only committed one sin in a short life, but within the sin was infinite wrongdoing. For unbelief is an insult to the whole universe. Unbelief is an insult to the whole universe. It negates the value of all beings. It denies the testimony to divine unity of all creatures and is contempt towards the divine names, the manifestations of which are to be seen in the mirrors of beings. Therefore, in order to avenge the rights of beings on the unbeliever, the being's monarch, the all-compelling one of glory, casts the unbelievers into hell, and this is pure right and justice. For an infinite crime demands infinite punishment. Yes, Colin abi, here we see that the topic of unbelief, people being sent to hell. And I want to ask, unbelief being insult to the whole universe, and it negates the value of all beings. And also it's an infinite crime. What do you think about those?
I have some reservations about the notion of infinite crime. I have no doubt that unbelief, particularly if it's the kind of unbelief that Ustad talks about, Qabul Adam, there are two kinds of unbelief. There is the unbelief which comes about when people just don't think. They can't be bothered to think, or they maybe have thought and they haven't come to a proper conclusion. It's like Adam Qabul. Adam Qabul is the non-existence of acceptance. But Qabul Adam is the acceptance of non-existence. So it's more proactive, it's more overt. and it makes a claim, whereas most people's unbelief is not really making that much of a claim. It's through neglect, really, through laziness, through intellectual indolence, really. But those who are obstinate and quite, I call them fundamentalist atheists, they are a different kettle of fish, as we say, completely. As for eternal punishment, I think the key is how we understand the meaning of eternal, because time happens very differently in the hereafter. There's an example that we can experience ourselves is when we dream. The dream world is part of the world of the unseen, the alam al-ghaib, and the akhirah is also part of alam al-ghaib. And there is mulki time and malakuti time, in alam al-mulk, which is where we are now, in the realm of Allah's dominion, the alam al-shahada, the seen realm. There is a certain time, a way that time functions, and in malakut, alam al-ghaib, time functions differently there. Some crimes call for non-specified, timeless kinds of punishment, which is in keeping with the non-specified, timeless crimes that we commit. Some crimes are very difficult to quantify, particularly if they have repercussions that are wide-ranging and non-specific. If I steal £10 from my neighbor, or if I do something that can be counted and quantified, then the punishment is finite. But if we're talking about crimes which are difficult to quantify, particularly if they have repercussions that are wide-ranging and non-specific, then it's very difficult to say that this can have a finite punishment. An example, this sense of lasting hurt that you would feel over the loss of a loved one if you lost that person in a car accident caused by drunk driving, right? Someone gets drunk, gets in a car, and runs over one of your loved ones, Hashallah, may we never see that kind of situation. Now, that's a crime that can't be quantified. It can't be computed, so how can we put a finite limit on that? And crimes such as obstinate unbelief is an accusation of futility and pointlessness that is directed not just at one person, but the whole of creation. Someone who is an unbeliever and an aggressive, belligerent unbeliever, they are casting aspersions not only on God, but they are traducing the whole of creation. They are maligning the whole of creation. So how would one do penance for a sin like that? It's almost unthinkable that that should be finite in a sense, because finite and infinite are difficult words. They're mathematical words. To talk of a finite, an infinite punishment for us is unthinkable. But I think we have to contextualize it against the backdrop of Akhirah, where time runs very differently, and eternal may not mean forever. It just means a time so long that you can't compute it. And that is actually how abadan, the word abadan, is used in Quran. They say fiha khalidun abadan. In there, it doesn't actually mean without an end, but it means so long that it doesn't necessarily mean without an end, but it can do. It means a time that you cannot imagine, and I think that fits in very nicely with the nature of heaven and hell themselves, because time there runs very differently. So that's how I would understand it.
I don't want participants to misunderstand. When you said hell not being infinite, and we talked about, for example, Said Nursi mentioned that if there was an end in Jannah, that would have caused pain, right? Because the passing of pleasure causes pain, and God would not cause the people in heaven to experience that. So we will have no end in Jannah and in hell from that aspect, right?
There is no end to Jannah, as far as we know, clearly. As for hell, there is no end to hell either. As for is there an end to punishment, then the ulama are divided on that. I would say that there will definitely be people in hell forever. Because there's also an issue that they wouldn't want to come out because they wouldn't be able to fit anywhere else. This is a very complex issue, and I don't want people to think that I'm dismissing the notion of eternal hell, but eternal and infinite punishment, we have to understand it contextually. Time is very different. So infinite time doesn't make that much sense. It's a timeless punishment for a timeless crime. And how that works out, it's difficult to say.
I also liked, when you said, we have quantified crimes and you can be punished for 1-2 years, but if someone kills someone else's child, right? I mean, that person should want that person to be punished for very, very, very long time.
Yeah, absolutely.
And here I see that the value of all beings, unbelief negates the value of all beings. The value of beings, we underestimate the value of even plants, animals, right? We just underestimate them. We see them as lowly, but they are actually more valuable than some people, right? We know that because we can be better than angels and we can be worse than animals or plants from that aspect. And I also liked, one comparison also, in line with what you said. Even, for example, when we kill animal, we say halal food, right? Halal meat, sheep and cow. So, and there was a message in that, for example, you cannot just go and kill a cow. You should, he is in such a higher level that just like we cannot kill human beings, we cannot also kill animals. They are in a higher level. But only after we say Bismillah, we ask permission from their creator, then we can slaughter and eat that. Then it becomes halal. And if a person comes and kills an animal as if it's just a piece of meat, right? That meat is haram for us. We cannot eat that. So we should know the value of beings and even plants. And I guess when we, the unbelief negates the value of all beings from that aspect, and in line with what you said, inshallah.
You see, I believe that we punish ourselves, we take ourselves to hell. I don't believe that we are put in hell. We take ourselves to hell through our hellish demeanor, our hellish behavior. And there are some people who will never come out from that state. So they will be in hell forever, for as long as we can imagine. And they won't be able to come out because they don't fit anywhere else. And they realize that as well. As I said, there are some ulama who say that maybe hell will go on forever, but maybe the punishment won't last forever. But they will still be in hell, if that makes sense.
Oh, yeah, no. Thank you. Baykar abi, what are your comments on this? Unbelievers being sent to hell, and Adam alayhi salam was sent to this world, and it entailed that unbelievers, many people ended up being unbeliever and being sent to hell eternally. And I want to ask, these concepts, unbelief is an insult to the whole universe, and it negates the value of all beings, and it denies the testimony of divine unity of all creatures. And also, that's the fact that the divine names, the manifestations of which are to be seen in the mirrors of beings. From those aspects, what are your views?
Yeah, I agree that to contemplate on an eternal existence, eternity, eternal punishment is not easy with the devices we have here. So I would think that to think about our purpose here and where we are going from here and why we are here should be the start point. So here also how Imam Nursi takes it, the answer is, under the same question. So it's the following paragraph, so first of all, again, we need to understand the aim of the creation. So I want to share a short part here from the 10th words about the akhirah, the eternal life. There are numerous purposes for the existence of everything, and numerous results flow from its being. These are not restricted to this world and to the souls of man, our nafs, as the people of misguidance imagine, being thus lost in vanity and purposelessness. On the contrary, the purposes for the existence and the results of the lives of all things relate to the following three categories. The first and the most exalted pertains to the Creator. It consists of presenting to the gaze of the eternal witness the bejeweled and miraculous wonders he has affixed to the object in question, as if in a military parade. To live for a fleeting second is enough to attain that glance. Indeed, the potentiality and intent for existence is enough, without ever emerging into life. For a worldly mind, this is not comprehended. This cannot be comprehended. We cannot understand this. If we don't believe in the source, we don't believe in the Creator, we don't believe a continuity, if we are a mirror to the manifestations of an eternal one, we will go to the eternity. We cannot understand this. I lived a second, a day, a week, but I became a mirror to the manifestation of an eternal one. If not, if I don't accept it, doesn't matter I spend 100 years or 1,000 years in this world, since it came to an end, it is pure evil. It is non-existence. I'm going to non-existence now. It doesn't matter how much I spend there. It's gone. It doesn't help me. So we need to first understand this. I'm again back to the first part, but it is very strongly related to the second part. So, for example, when I first heard this story from Azerbaijan, which, when the doors opened after the communism, brothers went there to, give dawah, and, it was under communism for almost 100 years. People were at the edge, almost, lost their belief in Allah and in the hereafter. So somebody just listened to a dars which, proves the existence of the afterlife, eternal life. And at 3 a.m., he called the guy back who, made the discussion. He said, even in hell, after my father passed, tonight I had a, comfortable sleep. Even if in hell, we will be together again. So, we can't understand this. Because since our childhood, we all, grow up with the, narrations about, from our Quranic lessons about Jannah, about eternal life. So non-existence comparing to any existence is pure evil. It is just going to non-existence. It is everything I am attached, everything I am concerned about, everything, makes my life will go to nothingness. Everything I am interested in, concerned about, will be nothing. This is such a burden that the human soul cannot carry, cannot, bear. So in order to understand again the whole concept of eternal punishment or reward, I need to understand who is the human being, who is his manifesting, he's manifesting the eternal names of the eternal one. With only this concept, he can find a real peace. Otherwise, everything will hurt him. Even in this world, he will start living, experiencing the hell before going to the hell, if he doesn't understand this. Of course, as you said, by having this capacity to be the best mirror to the manifestations of God's eternal names, and to be the best of the creation, to understand the whole concept of creation, all the reality of the universe, and what is the value of the all beings. If he doesn't use this, he's accusing, casting aspersions to God that he is not wise, he has no purpose, he is just doing things in a vain. So this is the biggest crime he is committing. But here Ustad Nursi explains it beautifully, because we are selfish, we are looking at everything from our point of view. We don't concern about, we accuse God, we swear at God, we didn't respect God, we don't really care about it as human beings. So he is approaching to our minds, our modern mind, from the human rights point. So every single creation has a right. They have an existence and they have a value. They are ayat, they are signs, they are officers, they are officials of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And now, with our disbelief, we are accusing the whole universe, countless existence, with being unimportant, having no purpose, coming into existence randomly, and will go to nothing. So their existence has no value, it just goes to nothingness. They will be nothing at the end. So we just abase the whole universe. I guess this is an enough answer for the modern mind. If we have a slight accusation from somebody, we have difficulty to swallow it. So how come, we are accusing the whole existence, the whole universe, and we think that this is not a significant crime. I'm just disbelieving. That's it. Thank you.
MashaAllah, thank you. As you said, also Colin Ojo said that we were created as representatives to understand the names of Allah, and it's only after being given with free will, right? Allah gave us free will, and Allah gave us ananiya, ego, to understand, I guess, as you said, the value of beings. When someone and if you are a person who works day and night for the betterment of community, right? You are working for the community day and night. You are spending your whole life for your family, for your community. And if someone comes and insults you, and if someone belittles you, how you would feel so bad for yourself, right? And if you compare ourselves, and if someone comes and kills you or insults you, we could understand the value. And just like that, I guess we should compare ourselves with the beings in the universe. Each of them are officers, and they are working day and night for us and for Allah as well. They are in constant worship to Allah, and most of them actually they are working more than us. And unbelief entails that they are all belittling their value, and we should compare ourselves to the beings.
But again, this is just the consequences. Before somebody is concerned about the consequences, we should be concerning about why I am here, who sent me here. Am I really looking for that? So this is just, skipping the first part of the question and jumping to the conclusion. Oh, why the God will burn me? No, before that, I should ask, did I really look into my existence, why I am here, what am I going to do here, who created me? So if I truly look into these questions, there's also no I don't care what will happen at the end. I can find that he is all merciful, he is all wise, and whatever he does will be in that in that sense.
MashaAllah. Jazakallah, all different aspects of this topic. Also in the chat, I see Nebi Abi writing about being in hell forever and different aspects of it again. And he says, firstly, the person who dies an unbeliever, and this is a quote from the book Signs of Miraculousness. Firstly, the person who dies an unbeliever will remain as such even if he lives to all eternity, for he has corrupted the very substance of his spirit. And his corrupted heart has a propensity to commit infinite crimes. So we said that, for example, the person who lived for 60 years and he died as an unbeliever, and if he lived for eternal, if he lived for millions of years, he would remain in the state of unbelief because he corrupted his heart. Khatamallahu ala qulubihim. Also, he says unbelief is ingratitude to infinite bounties. Also, this is also one of the reasons why, being in hell forever. And then different aspects you can read from the chat, inshallah. And you can always ask questions, and you can ask questions and comments on the chat. Also, I missed one comment of Nebi Abi. He says about Adam alayhi salam's being sent to this world, and we said that many people see that as evil, but he says Allah Ta'ala took 2 persons from heaven, but he will make billions of believers enter, inshallah, together with Adam alayhi salam.
I don't see that the fall of Adam was evil. There was nothing evil about it.
Yeah.
Even if it was unfortunate, it wasn't really a sin even. It was, how can I say it? Shaitan or Iblis tried to trick Adam by saying, do you want to become immortal? I can show you how you can become immortal. Now, if Adam had really thought hard, he would have realized that he was immortal anyway, he would be immortal anyway. He would live forever. But what Iblis is telling us is you can be immortal on your terms. You be immortal in the way that you want to be immortal. And we see that this is what people do. Everyone has an immortality project. The way that they try to sustain their own life and perpetuate their own nafs throughout their own life, and they want to let it remain forever. So we have immortality projects, such as we put buildings in our own name, we write books, our children and our wealth become immortality projects. And we, because we are hardwired that way, try to create heaven for ourselves on earth. So we try to construct immortality on our own terms, which is what Iblis promised us when he tried to trick us to eating from the tree. And that is what we did, and that is what we do. This is why, this is relevant for all of us. We all fall. We all try to construct immortality, if not through our belief, then on our own terms, in whichever way is possible. But the unfortunate thing is we end up not creating heaven on earth, we create hell on earth. And that will continue afterwards. There's no difference. However we are in this world, we will be that way in the next world. That's quite clear. Sorry, the last thing I should say is that unbelief, there are grades of unbelief. Unbelief is not monolithic. And believers can also commit acts of minor unbelief. One of them, as you mentioned, is ingratitude. That is a kind of kufr, which is known as kufran and ni'mat. It's the covering over of, gratitude, covering over the true gift giver, in other words. So we shouldn't think that we are immune from small acts of unbelief. We all have to be on the lookout for that, actually.
That's why it said in the hadith, "Jaddidu imanakum bila ilaha illallah," right? We should renew our faith every single day. And also
amanu billah, those believers believe in Allah. So there always has to be a vigilance that we don't, go off the proper path.
Sorry, yes. And for eternity as well, I like your comment on this as well. You know, Shaitan deceived Adam alayhi salam with immortality, with eternity, and he says in Surah Al-Taha, شجرة الملك وملك شجرة الخلد وملك لا يبلى. Like he said that, you know, I will lead you to eternity, to the tree of eternity, right? And this is in our being as well. And we assume, as you said, you know, in this world we seek eternity in different things as well. We want to satisfy our desire of eternity from those, but actually, you know, Allah is already, as you said, you know, he was already gonna stay eternal, the way Allah wants, right?
Yes,
Allah wants to make it.
That's the important thing, you know, it has to be on his terms, not on our terms.
Inshallah. Alhamdulillah. So we covered this topic, Alhamdulillah. Adam alayhi salam. This is an, I believe, very important topic. By Karabi, do you have final comments? And can you make the final dua, inshallah?
The first one. Let me make the dua first. Maybe something will come to my mind. اللهم لا تخرجنا من الدنيا إلا مع الشهادة والإيمان. اللهم إنك عفو تحب العفو فاعف عنا. اللهم إنك عفو كريم تحب العفو فاعف عنا. سبحانك لا علم لنا إلا ما علمتنا إنك أنت العليم الحكيم. وآخر دعوانا الحمد لله رب العالمين. الفاتحة والصلاة.
Thank you everyone for joining. Inshallah, we will continue at the same time next week.
The different subject, huh?
With a different subject, yes. We talked about evil for 4 weeks. So next week from different topic. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Thank you very much.
Wa alaikum salam wa rahmatullah.